the fact that Tipu fought against the British cannot be the only yardstick to hail him as a hero.
It's not the only yardstick.
Because Tipu,
Let him say, if it's the only yardstick, then I'll say, yeah.
Tipu did not fought only against the British. Tipu also fought against the Nizam. He fought against the Zamorins of Kerala. Tipu fought also against the Marathas. So how can you call Tipu a freedom fighter just because he happens to fight British? British was just one of his enemies. He was just one of his enemies. Second, I was speaking about Tipu's policy of religious persecution. Tipu writes letters to his commanders and asks them, give me an account of how many people did you convert?
That's part of his conquering.
That's past.
He's conquering other.
And even in his state, so 1 second please. Even in his state, Tipu incessantly wrote letters to his commanders and all of that. And he would write letters and he would ask, give me account of the women folk who have been captured, send them to Srirangapatna, give me the count of people who have been circumcised. Give me a count of these. These are documented letters which you will find in the India Office of London today, translated from Parsi to English by William Kirkpatrick. You will also find Portuguese historians of that time by name Father Bartolomeu. He writes in his book Voyage of East Indies, he writes, I was appalled to see the kind of torture and religious persecution that was taking place in Tipu's period. And William Logan, one of other British historian, in his Malabar Manual writes, if Tipu's atrocity can be compared to any other religious figure in history, it can only be allowed in Khilji, Muhammad Ghori and Muhammad Ghazni and Aurangzeb. This is what primary sources of history tell. The last point about celebrating these things today and why this happens and what whitewashing of these atrocities, the repercussions of it today. Well, if we are going to whitewash what Tipu did in the name of religion, in the name of expanding his Islamic empire, in the name of converting kafirs and establishing a Darul Islam in India, and if we are not going to observe or analyze what his motivations were, then probably today we will be at a loss to find out what the actual motivation is behind, say, an Al-Qaeda or a Lashkar-e-Taiba and ISIS. So this is the casualty of whitewashing history. The reason why we will have to see that is because Tipu writes on his sword that this sword is to ensure the end of all kafirs and infidels. So 1 second. Tipu then writes to Zaman Shah. Tipu writes to his soldiers. Tipu writes to his commanders. And Sultan was a Muslim fanatic. So you cannot celebrate a birthday or a Jayanti of a person by divorcing his religion, because all that Tipu did was persecute temples, demolish idols, and convert people in thousands. And this is not the version of the BJP, Bajrang Dal or the RSS, but this is the version by primary sources of historians. The state's case for celebrating Tipu Jayanti is threefold. First, he was a freedom fighter. Second, he was a lover of Kannada. Third, he was an apostle of peace and communal harmony. Let's go back to the primary sources of history and see what history actually tells us about Tipu Sultan. Let us not resort to either British historians or the Portuguese historians, because you may say it was an attempt at either demonizing him or lionizing him. Let us resort to Tipu's letters himself. Tipu Sultan writes a letter to the king of Afghanistan by name Zaman Shah and pleads him and begs him to invade India. And asks him, please come and invade this country, let us establish a Islamic state here. Can we call this person as a freedom fighter? And coming to Professor Hunur's timeline of Kittur Channamma and Sangoli Rayana, we should get our historical timeline right. Whereas Tipu Sultan was in the 1700s, in the late 1700s, Kittur Rani Channamma and Sangoli Rayana were part of the 1857 uprising. We cannot apply one timeline for Tipu Sultan and the other timeline for Channamma and the others. Thirdly, this whole fiction of Tipu being a lover of Kannada, it beats all senses. Tipu Sultan imposed the Farsi language as the administrative language in the state. And even to this day, as a practicing lawyer, if you are opening any revenue records, these terms of khata, these terms of bagar hukum, where did these words come from? These were all imposed by Tipu Sultan. And what happened to Mr. Dinesh is telling that each and every place about Tipu Sultan, people are hailing him. I would completely disagree with that. Mysore was renamed as Nazrabad. Calicut was renamed as Islamabad. Sakleshpur was renamed as Manzarabad. And our almanac system, one of the reasons why Tippu Sultan's Jayanti, the state was found itself in a fix, was because Tippu Sultan removed the almanac, the Hindu almanac which was in vogue, and instead imposed an Islamic almanac which had only 350 days in the year. And because of that reason, people in everyday Mysore at that point of time started finding it difficult as to a Sunday in the previous calendar became Tuesday in Tippu's calendar. And that resulted in Tippu Jayanti also being celebrated on a different scale. Lastly, this whole question about Tippu being benevolent to temples of Srirangpatna and all of that. An exception cannot be a rule. Louis Rice, in his Malabar Gazetteer, Louis Rice in his Mysore Gazetteer mentions that under Tippu Sultan's tyrannical rule of 17 years, more than 8,000 Hindu temples were desecrated and idols were destroyed. And the only two temples in which everyday puja was taking place was the temples of Srirangapatna, because those temples were where his astrologers were praying. And this is the state government celebrates Jayantis of a lot of people. It celebrates Kanaka Jayanti, it celebrates Basav Jayanti, Ambedkar Jayanti, it celebrates a lot of Jayantis of people belonging to the state. Nowhere in the last so many years has a Jayanti of a person of which the state government has commemorated taken place by imposing 144 section in the state. That itself goes to show that the state, you go to Chitradurga, Madhukari, the Nayaka community in Chitradurga rose up against it. You went to Kodugu, the Kurgis rose up against it. Tell me, is there any logic to celebrating a historical figure's Jayanti by imposing curfew on 144 section in the state?
I think you're making two different points.
I would like to.
Lastly, I just had to add one thing, Maya, with respect to the Muslim and this whole thing. It's definitely not the question of saying we are against Tippu celebration of Tippu Jayanti because he happens to be a Muslim, or that argument is completely baseless. To place the facts in matter, if the state government thought it wanted to symbolically appease a particular community by celebrating a Jayanti of, say, a Muslim leader, why couldn't we celebrate the Jayanti of, say, Shishunal Sharif, who actually spread communal harmony? Who are we showing, who are we going to make as role models to our country? Are we going to show to our young people that you should aspire to be an Abdul Kalam or a Yaqub Memon? That's first.